Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons under President Howard Stern. All right, so if you're not aware, Howard Stern announced that he is considering running for president, and he is a very viable candidate. And now you're like, wait a second, you're saying the guy who says Baba Booey and does fart jokes is a viable candidate for U.S. president? Yes, welcome to 2022, right? So it's not because Howard Stern is Howard Stern is a smart guy. I'm not going to say he's not smart. He acts like he's not smart a lot of times, in my opinion. But he's a very smart guy, but he has spent his life doing fart jokes and worse, right? Like, so you're like, that doesn't seem like a good candidate, like somebody who should be considered for U.S. president. But let me explain something, right? So I voted for President Obama twice. I'm very proud of that, and I would not take those votes back. Even considering everything that happened, I think he was a great president. I think he was one of the best presidents we ever had. And the reason why is I am, so I'm not a white person. I come from the Mattapanai Native American tribe, and I am Basque, right? And generally, if before President Obama in 2008, if you told any person of color, hey, you can be president, they were like, well, that's a very nice sentiment, and I like that you think that, but the reality is history has said that's a lie, right? And for literally 42 presidents, it's been nothing but a white male, right? So I say you're lying because data says you're lying, right? After Obama, that was no longer a lie. You could literally be a person of color and you could be a president of America. Like, and everybody who said, oh, the America's for inclusivity and blah blah blah, it put truth to the lie, right? Like, it's like, now you can, right? And I love that. I love that somebody other than a white dude could be a president, right? It's really important. I think it's like incredibly important that everybody in this country has a chance to be the president, right? And now that's true. And before for the first 42 presidents, it wasn't like a coinky dink that only white males were president. It was like a very carefully crafted suckfest that was not enjoyable. And now that's broken, and I helped to break it, right? Like, so I was very happy. But I will say right now, this President Biden is an echo of the President Obama years. That is horrific, and we have reached an absolutely terrible state in America, right? So a state so bad that a radio jock can say, I'm going to run for president, and nobody's laughing, because President Biden is a real politician with real experience, real dedication, and he is a joke. President Biden is a joke. At this point, he has run us, with all of his expertise, air quotes, he has run us headlong into the brink of World War III. You cannot feed babies in America. Every single thing you buy is more expensive, and hope itself is spinning down the drain, right? And what's even worse is we used to have two parties. You had the Republican Party and you had the Democrats. The Democrats are increasing. President Biden. Sorry, I want to be respectful. He is the president, right? He is my president, right? There's never been a president of America who wasn't my president, right? And there never will be. Every president that the United States of America people elect president will be my president, right? So President Biden, he's, he is making a joke of the Democrat Party. If anybody who looks says the Democrats can't do anything, even the Democrats are saying that, right? So where we land with President Ron Howard, right? Ron Stewart. What is that? Howard Stern, President Howard Stern. Excuse me, Howard Stern, right? So if Howard Stern is successful in 2024 and becomes the president, what does that mean for you as a dungeon master, and what does that mean for you as a Dungeons and Dragons player? Well, here, a lot. It's going to change your table. So what has it meant that Biden is our president? Well, first of all, it means that every single Dungeons and Dragons product that you buy is more expensive, which means you can buy less of them, which means your players literally have less at the table, right? Your dice are a little worse. Your terrain is a little worse. because you have to be more careful with your money, because you're like, oh, bread will probably be $12 a loaf next week, right? And also the people at your table are more fearful. They're more likely to be fearful than frivolous, and focused on Dungeons and Dragons as a play engine, right? And playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? And using Dungeons and Dragons. They're not going to have the brain space for it, because they're all the way down in Maslow's hierarchy, the lowest of Maslow's hierarchy. Okay, so does Howard Stern fix any of that? Absolutely not. So first of all, Howard Stern could run on Howard Stern. It doesn't matter where he runs. It doesn't matter if he runs on. Well, first of all, Howard Stern can't run as a Republican. I can tell you that right now. And the reason why is the reason he is trying to run for president is Roe v. Wade. That is literally, Roe v. Wade being overturned is what prompted him to do it. Now, you can't go to the Republicans and go, hey, that thing you worked for since 1973 and that you just got, I'm going to tear it apart and get rid of it. They're going to reject you right out, right? So that means he'll have to run on the Democrat side, or as an independent, all right? So first of all, independents don't work. I can tell you from personal experience. There has never been a independent president of the United States of America within my lifetime, and I think it goes back probably, since the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, since those words mean what they mean today, no independent has ever won, and that ain't going to change coming up, right? So that means you run as a Republican or you run as a Democrat. And get this, without a doubt, Howard Stern is a Democrat, right? He is a full-on dyed-in-the-wool liberal, like Bernie Sanders level liberal, right? Well, and actually, Bernie Sanders is not actually a Democrat. He's a socialist, right? Howard Stern is a dyed-in-the-wool Hollywood person. He is a dyed-in-the-wool liberal, dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, and approaches being a socialist. He doesn't, nobody outmatches Bernie for being a socialist, right? But so here's what's going to happen. If Howard Stern gets elected, everything that's happening right now in your Dungeons and Dragons game, all the suck that is pulling your Dungeons and Dragons table down now, thanks to President Biden, will remain. Okay, so Howard Stern will make your Dungeons and Dragons table remain suck. Okay, if any Republican beats him, day one, America goes back to normal, right? In that, the first thing that will happen is any Republican gets in there, they're going to roll into you. They're going to roll against Russia day one, in my humble opinion, right? And they won't even need to, I don't think they'll need to do it. I think what's going to happen is the Russians, they're taking advantage of Dem-Dov presidents. They're like, we know you're weak. We know you don't even know how to use that brilliant, shining military that you have. We know you're ashamed of it, right? And we know you're never going to use it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to stomp all over the world while America has a Dem-Dov president. They know the second any Republican gets in, they're going to go, we got a bunch of tanks, a bunch of aircrafts, a bunch of super dope fighters, and we're going to have an absolute blast taking over Russia, helping Ukraine to take over Russia in a week. Yep. And America will just take over, it will just port everything over there. Day one, Republicans are not afraid to use the military. They're begging for it. They want to use the military, right? And so basically the special operation will be Ukraine owning Russia within a week of any Republican president getting into place. And the moment that happens, every single frightened commerce, corporation out there is going to be like, oh my gosh, regulation is gone, high taxation on corporations is gone, and because we got, somebody who knows how to use a military, the whole world's on notice. Hey, superpower back, baby. America saved. That's it, right? So Howard Stern, do not vote for him, because your Dungeons and Dragons table will suck. If you want a return of balled out capitalist super products for your Dungeons and Dragons table delivered on time, and your players being able to think about frivolity and fun in their own personal lives, vote yourself Republican. Period. End of sentence. Howard Stern is a joke for returning good Dungeons and Dragons tables. It will only be an echo of the horrible suck world we live in right now with President Biden. Howard Stern cannot help you as a dungeon master. Howard Stern cannot help you as a Dungeons and Dragons player, right? You're going to need a Republican for that. Get ready to vote Republican if you want your Dungeons and Dragons play table to be better. That's my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.